Hello, today I'm going to do part 2 of my June wrap up. This is super late, sorry about that, and I'm just going to get straight into it. So first up, we'll start with this. This is Miss Armitage, Queen of the Road. It's a children's picture book and it's illustrated and written by the Bay, Quentin Blake, who illustrates all of Roald Dahl's stuff. And I don't like Roald Dahl's work, but I love Quentin Blake's drawings. He is my fave in the world. I just think they're so cool. So this is about a woman who her uncle gives her a car because he's decided to join a motorbike gang. And on her adventures in this car, the car starts falling to bits and she starts bumping into things, and it just talks about the different things. So it's like bing, bong, dang, boing, all those different things that you can do with children while you're reading it. If you've got a child that's into cars, they really like it because like the hubcaps come off and now the bumper. And I just love the illustrations in this one. So the car falls apart and then she meets up with her uncle, and it looks like a motorbike now, her car, and he says, why don't you join our motorbike gang? And it's just a lovely sweet story. That's my favourite illustration there, of her going through the woods. I love Quentin Blake illustrating just trees, and I don't know what it is I like about him, I just love it. I soak up all his illustrations. So I really liked this. This was a fun read. If you've got a child, this is a fun little book to read. It's a cute book. Next up, I read a graphic novel. This is Fun Home, a family tragicomic by Alison Bechdel. Larissa from Australia, who watches my channel, sent me this. Thank you so much because I freaking loved it. This is a memoir, and Alison is talking really about the relationship she had with her father. So they lived in this big house and her father was very much into literature. So I have a whole new reading list because of this book, and he read loads of classic books, and it talks about those books in relation to his life and maybe how those books impacted him. But he was also someone who didn't show emotion very easily, and she talks about that, and he goes off in these big rages. And here are the pictures here. It all has a blue filter over the whole entire thing. And I really like that she'll say something quite shocking and then she'll go into detail in that. So if you've read this, you know what I mean. Certain things that were in her father's life, she'll say, and that will want you to keep reading because you're like, what on earth does she mean by that? And it really intrigues you. I really loved this. I have never read a graphic novel also that's got so much writing in it. So it has speech, and then it also has at the top her kind of thoughts and feelings on certain things, and it was so deep. It felt like it wasn't a graphic novel, it felt like a novel to me. It took me quite a long time to read as well because there is so much text within it and so much to absorb. It was like a literary graphic novel, which I've never read one of them. Absolutely loved it. Why it's called Fun Home is because the family run a funeral home and they call that Fun Home the kids as like a laugh. And there's not a lot of funerals because it's a small town, so her dad is also a teacher, and it's about him coming to terms with his sexuality, and Alison Bechdel is a lesbian, so in the book she talks about her coming to terms with being a lesbian and telling her parents that and how they reacted. And I really thought this was an interesting relationship kind of character profile thing. So loved this, really loved it. Really want to read the next one. Apparently she got one about her mother, so I want to read that. Oh, it was going so well. I was talking about how much I loved. And then we have to get to this. This is Desire Lines by Jack Ganto. It's a novel and it's about a boy who's in a small town in America. Let me get myself together. And he realises that 2 girls in his class are lesbians because there's this hideaway place that's very secluded, and he goes there a lot, and then he sees the 2 girls and he decides to hide in a bush and he watches them have sex. So they're lesbians, and every Thursday they go to this secluded place. Sometimes they have sexual things, sometimes they just chat, and it's their own little time and space where they can be themselves and no one knows they're gay, and it's their freedom. And he sits in a bush and watches them. And that's never really referenced in this, how weird that is. And he says this is like my wildlife show, and I just felt sick, so I didn't really like him at all. A year prior to this, to present day in the book, one of his teachers came out gay and was forced out the school, and so a church have come to his town and they want to rid the town of anyone who is a homosexual. So he knows these girls are gay and he doesn't want to tell anyone they're gay, and then someone from the church hounds him every single day and is like, I know you know who the homosexuals are and I'm going to spread that you're homosexual unless you tell me, which kind of was like, a bit unrealistic that he would like know this boy knew. But anyway, so it goes around the rumours that the boy, the main character, is a homosexual, and he is just, it's like the worst thing that could have happened to him, but no one really cares that much. It's not like he gets beaten up or anything happens. People are just kind of lightly mocking him, but he's still got all his friends and stuff, and so he decides to out the girls because he doesn't want to be called gay anymore. So he says, I'm not gay, but I'll tell you who is, and that leads to devastating, tragic, horrendous consequences, which are all his fault in my opinion, let me just say. And at the end it's kind of like, you know, I made a mistake, but life goes on. And that's why I hated this book, because it wasn't his secret to tell. And the book's kind of like, yeah, sometimes in life you'll find out things, and you know, you'll make mistakes, but you have to get on with your life. And at the end of the book he says, I've forgotten about everything that's happened because I need to live my life. It's all your fault. Like, the devastating things that happen to the girls are all this boy's fault because he stuck his nose in their business. They didn't come out as gay to him. They didn't include him in their secret. They were in their own personal space where they thought they had privacy. He invaded that by watching them like some little creep in a bush. It was just terrible. And how, I'm just going to give you spoilers because don't read it, it's awful. And how it kind of comes out, the outing, is he tells his group of friends that the girls are gay, and then he says to them, I'm going to prove it to you, why don't you come with me on a Thursday, we'll hide from them and we can watch them and then you'll know they're gay. It was just disgusting. So those boys are watching these girls and one of them takes her top off and they're all like, oh my god, and then he says, the boy, it's disgusting. Look at them, look at the way they're looking at these girls. I never used to look at them like that, they're sickening. He was so awful. He was just like, it's just like, you are a little creep. You have orchestrated this whole horrendous situation of these boys that are going to out this girl, and obviously they jump out on the girls and the devastating consequences. Oh my god. Everything was his fault and he didn't realise. And the like end summary was like, bad stuff happens, doesn't it? Isn't it terrible that people can't accept people are gay and that people do things when they think they're going to be found out of being gay, they panic? No, that is terrible, but the real message should have been, it's none of your business if you find out someone's gay. It's not your business to out them, that's despicable, and it's not up to you to do that. I hated this. I thought it missed the point of what it should have been, and it was just like a self-pity of the boy. And one of the girls comes back to the school as part of her therapy. She has to talk to him, and he sees her and he goes, oh god, I completely forgotten about everything that had happened, because, you know, it wasn't my fault. When here she is, it brings back memories. If I had ruined someone's life to devastating consequences, I would not be forgetting that anytime soon. That would haunt me to the day I die. I would think, I am responsible for that. Because if I hadn't have been a little mouthy one, none of this would have happened to that person. And he just missed the point, and I hated it. I hated that bloody book. So now, last but not least, after that one, I read this. This is Hubble Bubble, The Glorious Granny Bake Off. And there's the cover. It's all pink and black illustrations. I really liked the illustrations. I thought they were really beautiful. In the UK we have a show called The Great British Bake Off, and this is going to sound like the most British thing you've ever heard. It's a reality kind of competition where people bake cakes and then get judged on their cakes and whether they can go round to the next round, whether their cakes are good enough. Just so British. And so this book has taken that concept, and it's about a little girl whose grandma is a witch, and she goes stay with her grandma, and her grandma enters the grandma bake-off competition. There's also another scene where they go to a museum. This was alright, like the illustrations were really beautiful, but I felt like this didn't have any charm, and I thought it was going to be like witchy charm, like The Worst Witch, and have that, but it was a bit too juvenile, but in the way of brattiness. So I think something can be silly and have real silliness to it, like Roald Dahl's silliness with it, and still be good. But then I think there are times when it crosses the line. So this, they were like at a museum and going, oh, I'm so bored being here, food fight, and it was just, unnecessary. So I didn't enjoy this because I didn't think it had any real charm to it. But I really did love the illustrations. I thought they're very chic and beautiful. So the author of this is Tracy Corduroy, and I just didn't think it had a real charm or anything to it. But the illustration is Joe Berger, and I loved Joe's illustrations. I thought they were stunning. And that's it. That's all the part 2 books that I read in June. Sorry this is late. If you have any thoughts and feelings on these books or anything I've said in this video, then please leave a comment down below and we can have a chat about it. And I will see you again very soon for another video.